Atlanta Radio.
I'll see you later. Stand by for Tony Sullivan.
It's been a difficult year for Radio Caroline. 1991 looks like being even more difficult for the station. During these troubled times, it is important that offshore radio fans get the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on the offshore stations. The Caroline movement can provide that information. For full details on how to join the Caroline movement, write to the Caroline Movement, 23 Grove Road, Grays in Essex, RN176JY. That's the Caroline Movement, 23 Grove Road, Grays in Essex, and the postcode RN176JY.
Broadcasting Library is on the move. RBL, Britain's leading producer of quality radio documentaries, can now be found at the following address. RBL, PO Box 145, Dover, Kent, C317-0YX. Well, for details of RBL's exclusive range of radio documentaries and information on the famous RBL custom Soundabout jingle packages, why don't drop a line to that brand new address? RBL, PO Box 145, Dover, Kent, CT17-0YX. This is the Atlanta Radio Soundabout. Atlanta Radio is proud to present free radio news on Atlanta Radio. Atlanta Radio Soundabout program. I'm Tony Sullivan, and for the next 30 minutes we'll be looking at the latest radio news. As always on the Soundabout program, we start with the offshore radio news, and firstly, Radio Caroline. Although Caroline continues on 819 kHz with daily broadcasts, the signal strength dropped dramatically towards the end of October. The reason for this was that there were problems with one of the transmitter valves. Output power is currently only about 100 watts. And due to the onset of winter, reception is once again difficult in all areas apart from the Kent and Essex coast. The future for Caroline is a little unclear at the moment. The broadcasting bill, which becomes law on the 1st of January 1991, will give the government the power to board and seize the Ross Revenge or any vessels broadcasting from around the coast of the UK without a licence. There are conflicting rumours of exactly what fate awaits Caroline on the 1st of January. Initially, we were extremely pessimistic about Caroline's future. Now, however, we have heard some better news, which seems to suggest that Caroline may have put together an ingenious survival plan, which will come into play in January. The plan could even result in the guarantee of a long-term future for the station. Unfortunately, we are sworn to secrecy regarding the plan. However, all we can say is that even to our cynical ears, it sounds like it could work. Continuing on an offshore theme, the DTI have pressurised British Telecom into closing the ACE News offshore radio telephone information line service. The service was closed down at the end of October. In addition to this, pressure is currently being exerted on the Caroline Movement info line service, and they could also be forced to close down in the near future. We find this action to be a little strange at the moment, considering that in only a few months' time, the DTI will have vastly increased powers to act against free radio organisations once the broadcasting bill becomes law. And finally, on the offshore section, former offshore pirate Radio New York International is currently audible in Britain via its relay facilities on religious station WWCR. Broadcasts go out between 0100 hours and 0400 hours UTC on 7520 kHz in the 41 metre band. Programmes feature Randy Steele, Al Viner and Johnny Lightning, who are all part of the RNYI offshore crew. And if you manage to catch their programmes, you can drop a line to them at Radio New York International, care of Box RNI, Flushing, NY, 11355 USA. I'll say that again for you. Radio New York International, care of Box RNI, Flushing, NY, 11355 USA. By the way, Al Weiner, the RNI boss, is quoted as saying that the former RNI ship, the MV Sarah, has been sold to the Caroline organisation as a replacement ship for the Ross Revenge. We move on now to some news from the world of legal radio. And first we take a look at one of the UK's newest legal stations, and a station with a definite offshore feel. Melow 1557 opened at the end of September, broadcasting soft rock and quality pop music to the Essex coastal areas. The station is currently using 90 watts on 1557 kHz medium wave. However, an increase in power has been applied for and should be granted in the near future. Daily programming on the station opens with the breakfast show presented by former offshore veteran Andy Archer. Other offshore names on the station include former Caroline and Laserman Dennis Jason and our very own Paul Graham, who was of course on Caroline a few years ago. Paul presents the afternoon show on the station. The Atlanta radio links do not end there. As well as Paul Graham, former Atlanta man Tim Stewart is also to be found on Melow 1557, presenting the Saturday afternoon soul show. Anyway, here's a brief look at Melow 1557 and a reminder of days gone by with a snatch of Andy Archer's breakfast show.
Music and more on Melow 1557.
That was one of the UK's newest radio stations, Melow 1557, former offshore veteran Andy Archer. You're tuned to the Atlanta Radio Soundabout programme. I'm Tony Sullivan, and we'll be back with more news in a moment.
On the 19th of August 1989, the radio world was stunned by the news that the Ross Revenge, the home of Radio Caroline, with the Dutch and British government. The Radio Broadcasting Library documentary No Man Will Ever Forget, Saturday, August the 19th, 1989. Story of events of that day. It features exclusive interviews with Caroline DJs Dave Richards, Neil Gates and Chris Kennedy, who were all on board during the raid. Forever, the dramatic events of the day on this 90-minute documentary tape from RBL. For your copy, send a cheque for £5.95, 20 Dutch guilders or 60 French francs to RBL, PO Box 145, Dover, Kent, CT 170YX. That's for your copy, just send a cheque for £5.95 or 20 German marks, 20 Dutch guilders or 60 French francs to RBL, PO Box 145, Dover, Kent, CT 170YX.
We continue with some legal news and news of a tightening up of the radio regulations in Italy. On Sunday, the 28th of October, at approximately 12:30, Radio East Coast Commercial was raided by DTI officials whilst broadcasting from a site in Norfolk. Luckily, the station operator was able to escape without losing the transmitter or any equipment. Norman Nelson tells us that the future of the station is now uncertain. If you would like to show your support for East Coast Commercial, you can reach them at the following address. P.O. Box 220342 D 5600 Wuppertal, and that's the UPPERTAL in West Germany. After the bad news regarding Radio East Coast Commercial, we have more bad news concerning another UK-based shortwave station. Steve Most of Radio Pamela was raided by the British DTI and police during a Radio Pamela broadcast on FM. The FM transmitter and some studio gear were taken. However, the Radio Pamela shortwave transmitter was not removed. The result of the raid is that it is unlikely that Radio Pamela will be back on the shortwave scene in the near future. And finally, in the bad news section, the free radio service Holland's planned broadcast on Sunday, the 20th of October, was scrapped at the very last moment following a security scare. SRSH, PO Box 2727, 6049, ZG, Herten, that's a Herten, in Holland. After the bad news from the shortwave world, we move on to some happier news. Radio Gemini, one of our favourite shortwave stations, celebrated their 18th birthday on Sunday the 28th of October with another excellent broadcast. You're tuned to Atlanta Radio, and this is the Soundabout programme. We'll be back in a moment with more news.
Offshore fans, shortwave enthusiasts, DXers, radio amateurs and station operators. All read Average Goes DX, a monthly magazine aimed at an international audience. Read up-to-date news and background stories about free and independent radio. From sea to satellite, Average Goes DX is printed in excellent quality and has a professional layout. So it's not only the content that counts. For a sample copy, write reply to Everest OCX. PO Box 2727, zip code 6049, ZG, Hessen in the Netherlands. Please do not forget to enclose 3 IOCs, 480 or 840 pfennig German stamps, 475 cent Dutch stamps, or £1 in cash or in English stamps. For an annual subscription, you pay 21.5 German marks, £6.25, or 21.5 Dutch guilders. Everest Goes DX, the magazine for the free radio enthusiast.
If you are an offshore radio fan, then CM Leisure Sales can provide you with the best choice in offshore radio merchandise. The latest CM Leisure Sales list contains well over 200 items of interest to the offshore radio fan. For a copy of the CM Leisure Sales merchandise list, drop a line to CM Leisure Sales, PO Box 46, Romford, Essex, RM 12QE.
Before we continue with the news, here's a quick word for our German listeners. Guten Tag, willkommen an Atlanta Radio. Im Fall, dass Sie uns mal schreiben möchten, und das möchten wir auch gerne, Sie können uns an dieser Adresse finden. Es ist Nummer 23, South Beachwood, und ich muss das mal ausspuren, das ist S-O-U-T-H, B-E-E-C-H-W-O-O-D, Edinburgh. Das auch, ja. E-D-I-N-B-U-R-G-H. Entschuldigung. Und die Postleitzahl ist EH12 5YR. Das ist natürlich in Schottland und ist die Atlanta Radio Adresse für alles. Back to the shortwave news now. On the first Sunday of October we heard Radio 48 with an excellent signal on 48 meters.
Atlanta Radio, Soundabout.
Well, that just about wraps up our look at the radio scene on today's Atlanta Soundabout program. We'll finish with a quick reminder of the upcoming broadcasting bill. The broadcasting bill will come into force on the 1st of January, and although it will contain measures aimed at increasing the number of stations operating in the UK by way of setting up a new radio authority, it will have a devastating effect on free radio. Basically, the bill will make it impossible to operate a mailing address, make it against the law to provide programs or material for unlicensed broadcasters, and also make it an offence to help unlicensed broadcasters in any way. We at Atlanta Radio cannot see a way around the new bill and have decided to close down at the end of December before the bill becomes law. The exact date of our close down broadcast has not been set, but it could possibly be the 30th of December, the very last Sunday of 1990. In the meantime, if you want to contact us here at Atlanta Radio, that mailing address is Atlanta Radio, number 23, South Beachwood. That's beach as in tree, not as in sit down in the sand. Edinburgh, EH12 5YR. Do you want that again? Okay. Atlanta Radio, 23 South Beachwood, Edinburgh, EH12 5YR. And for the uninitiated, that is, of course, in Scotland. Phil Collins will be along in a minute with more music. Before that, here's another chance for you to win that pack of Radio Broadcasting Library tapes. And very good tapes they are too. These include the new decade of American radio tape, the Caroline Raid documentary tape, No Man Will Ever Forget, Saturday, August the 19th of 1989, and the very latest RBL tape called Offshore Memories Volume 1, which of course features interviews with Roger Matthews and Tommy Rivers. All this can be yours if you can spot the jock in this batch of 5 offshore DJs. Remember, you don't need all 5 to win, just see how many names you can find.
That's still a black. Oh, little tall ass, and that's a full moon. That's always one of the things I wanted to be, actually. A clown. I always longed to paint my nose red, but then again, I got very sentimental about my nose, and everyone takes me.
about Bethlehem? I don't know. From a few years ago. Now then, Marshall Harris was sitting at the back of the studio very quietly. He's not saying anything at all, really. He's getting very poignant at this point in time. Do you want to come a bit closer to the microphone, say a few well-chosen words? Well-chosen words, Eddie. Stand up. How much have you had? This is my first glass. That's a mouthful. It's lovely white wine, isn't it? Very tasty, yeah. So...
Nice guy. 7 minutes to 11 o'clock. 7 minutes away from news time.
Music from 1985, Key Bush, and running up that hill, and back, Mr. Dirty here in the studio. Hi, Mr. Dirty. How are you?
You have a good party last night.
Yes, I had an excellent party last night.
I told you about mine.
Yes, don't tell us again. Okay.
Would you like something to eat?
Actually, I'm a little peckish. What do you have?
Some nice bowl.
Five.
Darlings, that's how you get your commission in the beef fleet. Like I said, I gotta go. It's all done. We've got both sides, too bad. Before I go, let me give you that standing date. Yes, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. I'll be back here at Caroline. So I hope you'll be with me.
So, how did you do? Well, even if you only got one name, have a go. Send in your entry to Spot the Jock, Atlanta, 23, South Beechwood, Edinburgh, EH12, 5YR in Scotland. And just to tempt you, that the prize includes the tapes, The Decade of American Radio, the Caroline Raid documentary, No Man Will Ever Forget, Saturday, August the 19th, 1989, and the very latest RBL tape, Offshore Memories, Volume 1. Coming up in a minute, Phil Collins with 40 minutes of music, followed by that exclusive preview of the brand new Offshore Memories Volume 1 documentary tape from the Radio Broadcasting Library. We will be featuring part 1 of the 90-minute tape, which features the interview with Roger Matthews talking about his days on the Mi Amigo in the 1970s. All jolly good stuff. Me? Well, I'll be back later with the Soundabout headlines. For the moment, though, it's goodbye from me, Tony Sullivan, and stand by, and I mean stand by, for Phil Collins.
Recapture the golden days of offshore radio with Offshore Memories Volume 1 from the Radio Broadcasting Library. This 90-minute cassette contains exclusive interviews with Radio Caroline DJ Roger Matthews and Laser 558 man Tommy Rivers. On side 1, Roger Matthews talks about his days on the Mi Amigo in the middle to late 1970s, including his memories of the terrible winter of 1978 when the ship nearly sank and things were so bad on board that there were icicles hanging from the lampshades. On side 2, Tommy Rivers recalls his days on Laser 558. Hear the true story of what life was really like on board the Communicator, including the Euro siege days. Both interviews feature many off-air extracts to help tell the story of two very interesting and fascinating periods in the history of offshore radio. For your copy of Offshore Memories Volume 1, send £5 or 15 German marks to RBL, PO Box 145, Dover, Kent, CT170YX. And recapture some of those golden moments from the history of offshore radio. Music for Europe on a Sunday. This is Atlanta Radio, 48 meters shortwave.
Yes, good morning. Thank you to Tony. Very, very informative Soundabout program. Good morning. Hello. Bill Collins with you for 40 minutes of music, kicking off my show with a nice song from Chris Rea. This is called Windy Town. Driving down from the house.
So, to each and every one of you, thank you for listening today to Atlanta Radio. Atlanta Radio will be back sometime around Christmas time, and then we will be closing down at the end of the year as well. my heart. Oh, getting the mouth of it's been a long morning, hasn't it? So on behalf of myself, Mark Sullivan, Paul Collins, and Tony Sullivan, thank you for listening, and London Radio is now closing down.